Hello everyone, welcome to another video on our Python tutorial playlist. In this video, we'll be discussing on how to work with tuples and sets in Python. I'll be teaching you on how to create tuples and sets, how to access their values, and the various functions and methods that you can use in working with tuples and sets in Python. So if you're a beginner and you want to learn how to use the Python programming language for analyzing your data, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I'll be creating more videos in regards to this content. Okay, so drop your comments, your questions in the comment section, and also drop any other topic you would like us to discuss in regards to Python programming language. So without wasting time, let's dive right in. Tuples are very similar to lists, but with one major difference, that is, we cannot modify tuples. In programming language, it is referred to as immutability of an object. Lists are mutable objects because they can be modified, while tuples are immutable objects. A tuple looks almost exactly like a list, but instead of square brackets, it uses parentheses. So I'll be writing a piece of code to explain what I mean by mutable and non-mutability for lists and tuples. So let's create our first tuple and let's call this tuple 1. Okay, our first tuple is going to contain some items. Let's say bags, books, pen. Okay, I can say tuple okay. Then let's carry out the same process and let's call this list 1. So let's create a list that will see the difference between both. List will be containing the same items also. So what we technically want to do is we created a list which is our list 1 and contains 3 items within our list, and we equated our list to be our list 1. So after that, we want to change this our first value in our list 1 to boss. Okay, and when we are done with that, we come back and print our list 1 and also print our list 2. Okay, so I still want to print this also before we change the value in our list 1 in this, and let's see what happens when we run this. So let me paste it here and run this. So you would see we got bags, books, pen, right? When we printed our list 1 and we printed our list 2, gives us back books, pen also. And you'll see that when we changed, we assigned our index value of 1, which is books, to boss, and you could see that it's we were able to change this value of books to bus, giving us bags, bus and pen. And since we've equated our list 2 to be list 1, same was also changed for list 2 also. So let's see if we can be able to carry out this procedure when we are working with tuple. Okay, so let's copy our tuple and go ahead and do same thing. So want to print tuple 1 and print tuple 2. Okay, so let's see what will happen when we try to change this value of books to bus. So let's use index of 1. So you could see at first we were able to assign our tuple 2 to our tuple 1. So when we printed the value, it gives us bags, books and pen, but we encountered an error when we tried to change any of the value within this tuple to something else. It says tuple object does not support item assignment. So this is what we mean by when we say tuples are immutable. It means if once it has been created, the value inside a tuple cannot be changed. Okay, why for lists you can change the values, you can assign other values to it, but for tuple those values cannot be changed. Tuple do not have lots of functions, unlike lists that you can use various functions like append, extend and etc. But with tuple you can't do such. But just like in lists, you can also loop through a tuple. You can use a for loop to loop through a tuple. And what do I mean by that? So we have our tuple 1, right? Now let me just call tuple 1. So we have our tuple 1. If I go ahead and run this, you see we got bags, books and pens. So we can for loop through this and say for I in our tuple 1 we want to print I. Okay, so we're just technically saying go through these tuple 1 items and print each of these items one by one. Okay, so we can go ahead and run this and you could see we got bags, books and pen. So you can also for loop through a tuple just like the way you can for loop through a list also. So if you are working with a data and you want to create an object where its values cannot be modified after it has been created, the best data Python data object for you to use is going to be a tuple. While this can be used in a situation where mutability of the object is required. So if you are working with an object and you know that you would want to change, assign or even try to extend an already existing object, then list is a much preferable choice. Next we'll be looking at sets. Okay, so sets are values that are unordered and also contains no duplicates. In sets, curly braces are used instead of square brackets or parentheses, just like we've seen in lists and tuples. So in sets we use curly braces instead. So for example, I can create a set and let's call this our set Ines, and we say we use curly braces while creating set. Okay, just like this. So we can say we have malaria, we have fever, we have cold, we have whooping cough. Okay, so we just created a set that contains various indices, right? So we can go ahead and print our variable, which is index, and you take note of something. You'd see that when I first created this set, we had malaria first, fever, commoness, cold, and whooping cough. But when we printed our variable, which was index, we got malaria, we got whooping cough, fever, and cold. So this is what we mean when we said sets are values that are unordered, and we also said set also contains no duplicates. So let's see what we mean by that. So in our already existing set value, let's use this. If I can decide to say, okay, I want to add malaria once more to this, okay, so if I run this, you'll see that it technically strikes out this malaria and it prints only just one copy of the malaria, whereas when we created our set initially, we had to copy. Okay, so some of the main importance of using set is to check if a value is part of a set and also to remove duplicate. So I've showed you how can use set to remove duplicate. We can also use it to check if a value is part of a set. Like I can say malaria in emails, so it's just going to give me a true or false reply. So it gave me false, and it gave me false because it's case sensitive. I use small letters for malaria, and in our original text you could see malaria was in capital letter. So if I go ahead and write this again and use capital letter, you could see now that we got true. Set is also useful in showing what value a set share with other sets. For example, we can carry out intersection between two sets, we can carry out union between two sets, two or more sets, and so on. So let me say, for example, we have another set that contains, let's call this our index 2, but this time around it contains other types of index, and let's say we have TB here, we have whooping cough also, okay, we have pneumonia, let's say we have catarrh and cold. Okay, so we can decide to say, okay, we have two sets, right? We want to see those values that we can find in our index. So let me just go ahead and call this index 1. Okay, those values that we can find in our index 1 and those values that we can also find in our index 2. Okay, so we can go ahead and say print index 1 dot intersection with our index 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. So you could see we have whooping cough, because if you look at R2, you could see here we had malaria, fever, we had code in common, we had code here, we had code here, but take note that this code was written in small letter while this was in capital letter, so it's not considering it at same values, right? Then we have whooping cough here, we have whooping cough here, so we can see that it's picking whooping cough as a common index between our two different set value. Okay, next we can also decide to say I want to see the index in set 2, that's our index 2 that are not found in our index 1. Okay, so what are those indexes that can be found here but can't be seen here? So we can say we want to print our index 2 where it has difference with our index 1. So you could see we have cold, TB, and pneumonia and catarrh. So you can see that these indexes are located in our index 2, but they are not located in we can't find them in our index 1. Okay, another thing we can do is union. We can decide to combine all the sets, all the values in set 1 and that in set 2 also. So to do that, we can use the union method and say we want to print our index 1 dot union two. So if we go ahead and run this, so you could see we have a set that contains values from index 1 and index 2, and you know that set does not take in duplicates. So if there's any values that was in index 1 and is in index 2, it's going to just pick only just one occurrence of that value. So sets are mostly useful for this kind of use cases. Next, I'll be teaching you how to create empty list set tuples. To create an empty list, let's call this our empty list. We can either use two methods. We can either say use the list. Okay, we can either create an empty list like this. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, let's print empty list. So you could see we've created an empty list. So we can either run this like that, or we can say use the square bracket. So you know when creating list, you can use the square bracket for creating list, and you pass in your values inside the square bracket. So if you want to create an empty list, you can use the square bracket without passing in value, so it means the list is empty. So these are two ways we can create an empty list. Then ways in which we can create an empty tuple, it takes same process also. So let's call this empty tuple. So we can either create our empty tuple using our tuple okay, let's run this. So you could see our tuple has been created and is empty. Okay, we can either do this or we can create this using this method also. And you remember, when you want to create tuple, you use parentheses in place of square bracket for list. Okay, so if we go ahead and run this, you could see that our empty tuple has been created. Then when you are creating an empty set can be created using just one way, which is this calling sets. Okay, and let's go ahead and run this. So you could see that our set has been created, unlike the other data types like list and tuples where you can create them just using their sign. You can't do that with set. So if I say I want to create an empty set and I use the curly braces only, instead of it to create an empty set for me, is going to create an empty dictionary instead. So if I run this is not an empty set but an empty dictionary. So that will take us to our next topic, which we'll be discussing in our next class. Okay, so in our next video I'll be teaching on dictionary in Python. So this brings us to the end of the video. If you have any question, kindly drop your comments, questions and suggestion in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support my channel, kindly like this video and ensure to share the video to anyone you think will find them useful. Ensure to subscribe to my channel to see future videos, and thank you for watching. Bye.